Hey guys, so moving on to new Phyrexia. Last part of Scar's block. Well, I have a lot of mixed feelings on this. I really do, because I remember like Wizards of the Coast putting out all the announcements about how depending upon how pre-releases for Mirrored and Besieged went and all that other happy stuff, they might choose for the third set of the block to be Mirrored and Pure or New Phyrexia, and apparently they never intended to do Mirrored and Pure. And that I don't know, that made me kind of unhappy. It felt like a bait and switch. I mean, mind you, even if it had been up to the fans, I fully expected New Phyrexia anyway, because, there's a lot of, kids out there that think, oh yeah, evil is cool, blah, 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 and I'm like, really, guy? Really? Yeah, whatever. So, I mean, just from the cards and the mechanics, I really do like New Phyrexia. And, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here. Starting with the white today, because we've got it fully sorted. Do the other color. I'll probably fully sort the rest of this, sometime early tomorrow morning or whatever. And then after that, while I'm talking about the rest of the set, I'll probably start doing some more sorting on the core sets, because that's going to take a while. On the other hand, actually talking about the core sets themselves shouldn't take all that long, because there's a lot of card repetition in the core sets. Funny thing that, right? We got here Dispatch, tap a creature or exile it if you have Metalcraft. It's alright. I don't see it played much. Pardon. Marrow Shards, interesting card. 1 damage to all attacking creatures for Phyrexian white. The Phyrexian mono was really an interesting thing. For each Phyrexian mana symbol on the card, you can pay the appropriate color of mana or 2 life. And I'll be perfectly blunt, most of the time I saw people playing these cards, they were paying the life. I've only got 3 of those, actually, apparently. Oh well. Apostle's Blessing, 1 to Phyrexian white, instant. Target artifact or creature you control gains protection from artifacts or color of your choice. That's funky. There's a lot of interesting tricks you can pull with that card. It'd be better, dare I say too good, if it was target artifact or creature, not just one you controlled. But hey, it's life. It's a fun combat trick. One of the great things about the Phyrexia mono, it lets you pull other colors tricks in decks that don't have any other cards in that color. Cathedral Membrane. Another fun thing they had, they brought back the colored artifacts. Kind of funky. It's an interesting concept. I like the concept of a colored artifact. That one's an 03 artifact creature wall. I don't think I've ever really seen people play it though. Due Respect. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get any real usage out of it. Though to be perfectly honest, it would be a fun card to imprint on an Isochron Scepter. Yeah, your stuff your stuff comes into play tap this turn, I draw a card. Hey, your stuff comes into play tap this turn, I draw a card. I'd do that all damn day. Forced Worship, really good control card in draft and sealed deck. I don't know if I'd play it in constructed or not, but it's nice. I like it. Lost Leonin, a 2/1 infect for 2 mana. Not bad at all. Not something you really expect to see in white overall. What's really nice about it, though, the flavor text, Murans were broken down and rebuilt, made to be loyal servants of the force they had fought. What's interesting about that is because something very interesting was done to, I can't remember the character's original name. Her name was Belve. afterwards. What happened was she was the daughter of Eladamri, Lord of Leaves, major character from Tempest through... major character in Tempest and Invasion. And what the deal with that is, well, Tempest, Invasion, and Nemesis somewhere in between, right? But the thing with Belbe is she was Eladamri's daughter, assassinated, brought back to Phyrexia. Her body was pretty much completely disassembled, and then she was rebuilt as a Phyrexian. And in the end, what happened is, despite all of that, they couldn't change her nature. It took her a while to rediscover it, but they couldn't change it. So I'm wondering if maybe we're going to see new Phyrexia pull like some sort of like heel face turn, as the expression goes, and these converted Mirrans are gonna like start acting like Mirrans again. Suture Priest, this guy's funky. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, gain life. When it enters the battlefield under opponent's control, they lose life. That's funk. It's a good card. I like it. Inquisitor Exarch, he's a 2/2. When he hits the board, either you gain 2 or your opponent loses 2. That's kind of interesting, simply because your opponent losing life is, you know, much like the Suture Priest. It's not something you see frequently on a white card. I think I only got 3 of him. Pure Steel Paladin, I know I've only got 1 of him. He's kind of funky. He's a 2/2 for double white. So normally with something like that, especially at the rare rarity, you're expecting some funk to go along with it, because, for example, White Knight was a 2/2 for double white, and he was a first strike and protection from black. And then many years later, there was Silver Knight, who was first strike and pro red. What's going on with the Pure Steel Paladin is whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you have Metalcraft, you may attach equipment for 0. Equip cost becomes 0, which is funky. Phyrexian on life. This is a card that you can make combos with. It's funky. I'm not going to get into exactly what it does because it does stuff. But yeah, it's a funky card. I like it. Porcelain Legionnaire is real. I mean, yeah, it's got a low toughness, but you're talking about a 3/1 first strike that most of the time is going to be played for 2 colorless and 2 life. A lot of people, I mean, a 3-power first striker on turn 2 is strong. It's really strong. Remember the Fallen? I used to make jokes about that in the old black card, the Fallen. They weren't funny jokes, but I'd make them anyway. Return a creature and or artifact from your graveyard to your hand. That's kind of funky. It's interesting stuff. It's not bad. It's not fantastic, but it's not bad. You know, locks on Convert is something you don't see very often in white, and that's with a creature with a power that exceeds its toughness. I mean, you'll usually in white you'll see 1/1s, 1/2s, 2/2s. Excuse me. Ah, sorry about that. Ooh. But a 4/2 in white for 4 mana, that's not something you see very often, if at all. The Splicers. There were a bunch of Splicers. They were all variously Artificers. When they hit the board, you got a 3/3 Golem token, and they all gave Golems some kind of a buff. The Master Splicer just gave all Golems you control +1/+1. War Report, it's not a card that you saw played very often. It's basically, it's a wonky life gain spell. No one really liked it. Censor Splicer, once again it's a Splicer. He gives Golems Vigilance. It's kind of funky. Norn's Annex. This is a fun card. I got 2 right here. I know I've got 1 put aside for an EDH deck. I could easily think of uses for that elsewhere as well. It's 3 in double Phyrexian white for a nice effect. Whenever creatures that attack you your opponent must pay Phyrexian white for each one that attacks you. So he's either paying white mana or 2 life for each, or some combination thereof. Kid science, fun stuff. Shattered Angel, it's a 3/3 flyer for 5, and for all intents and purposes, on landfall, well, or actually, whenever a land enters the battlefield under opponent's control, you may gain 3 life. So it's not really landfall, but it's similar, kind of, sort of. It's funky. Shriek Raptor. This is an interesting card. I used to draft this guy a lot. People weren't too fond of him, though. I can't say I blame them. I mean, he's 5 mana for a 2/3 flying infect. But he flies, he has infect, and he has a good sized toughness. That's not something to sneeze at. I mean, it's not first pick worthy by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't use it in Constructed outside of like a Pauper or Peasant deck. But yeah, he's funky. He does funk. Exclusion Ritual. This is a fun card. 4 and double white for enchantment. When it hits the board, exile target non-land permanent. That permanent is imprinted on the ritual. Players can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card. See, that's kind of funky. That's kind of funky. I mean, yeah, it's 6 mana, but overall, it's hard removal for anything that isn't a land or doesn't have protection from white or protection from enchantments. And its imprint ability is a comes into play ability. So, as an example, Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, who has protection from colored spells, is as vulnerable to this as he is to things like Oblivion Ring and Journey to Nowhere. It comes into play, you play it, it resolves, it goes into play, then its comes into play ability hits. That's a triggered ability from an enchantment. It's not a spell. Kid science, fun stuff. And anyways, this is a fun little card. I like it. Of course, you'll notice certain things missing in there. For example, I don't have a lot of the big white cards in New Phyrexia, like Elish Norn, as an example. Elish Norn is just plain incredible. It really is. I lost to it in draft several times. That's a difficult card to play around. It really is. It's a good-sized legendary white creature. Yeah, it's got kind of high casting cost, but creatures you control get +2/+2. Creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. Anything your opponent has that you just didn't outright kill is seriously gimped. Interestingly enough, it kind of like destroys most infect decks because very few infect creatures have a power in excess of 2. Offhand, the only ones I can really think of with a power 3 or greater are the Putrefax, the 3/3 black guy for 5, Phyrexia the Blight Dragon, and there's a green creature in this set that has what you might call Ghetto Trample. You can choose to have it do its damage directly to the defending player, even if it's blocked. So it's kind of Ghetto Trample. It doesn't deal any damage to the creatures blocking it. But I mean, yeah, there aren't a lot of creatures that are gonna get around to that. Oh well. So that's that. Get this video posted up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cross-post onto the Wizards message boards before I take off. Because once I take off, it's probably going to be around like 9:30ish when I take off, and I'm not expecting to be back home before 3 a.m. And if I am, hey, great, you know. If I'm not, oh well. So we'll see how this goes with the uploading, blah, 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 blah. Alright. Be good, be safe, etc., yada, yada. Later, guys.